Hey, Eric.
Hey Scott, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited about this webinar.
Are you? Excellent. Excellent.
I
We
am.
are.
A lot of questions. A lot of folks want to know a little bit more and a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us on a yet another MSF webinar. And tonight we're going to talk about a topic that, as Eric said, I don't think a lot of people really understand it fully and know it. Again, as the title of the webinar goes, what is it and do I need it? And so, what is it is a really good question. That's something we're going to dive into tonight. Um, I mean, let's just kick it off, Eric.
Fantastic.
I think,
We'll do a little Q&A at the end for
yeah,
questions. We got some resources out there we're sharing with folks, and make
exactly,
it kind of informal, the Scott and Eric style, Eric and Scott style.
exactly. And just everybody knows that the chat box is open. So if you have a question, please, you can mark it as a question and send that to us, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And then also we'll provide some links and whatnot there in the chat box in regards to what we're talking about, so that everybody knows what's happening. So the topic tonight is Msf Level 2 recertification, and I would say there's a lot of people who are probably like, "What in the world is Msf Level 2?" I think we should probably go into that real quick, just as a real quick summary, if you think that makes sense, Eric, and then kind of move
Yeah.
forward. So, I think everybody's pretty familiar with Level 1, which is our online kind of an introductory course that gets everybody on the same page. That's the whole idea with Level 1 is to take the online test and define terms and get everybody on the same page so everybody starts from the same place. And then Level 2 is a little bit different. It's not actually administered by MSF as such. We don't approve or disapprove any instructors. That's all done by the organizations who have achieved Level 2 status. And by achieving Level 2 status, they've submitted their curriculums to us here at MSF. And we have compared those to a set of standards that has been established by everyone in the community. And, obviously our other board member who can't be with us tonight because he's standing on a spotter stand. I don't know, is he in turn 1 or turn 17? I can't remember where he is, but he's in Sebring for night practice tonight.
Yeah.
So he can't
Right
join
now,
us
at this exact moment.
at
Yeah.
this exact. Yeah, it is exact moment.
Hey,
'Cause my
Ross,
wife.
if you're
Yeah,
watching, Ross.
yeah, exactly. And he's down there, so he can't join us. But he was a big part of the definitions of what creates a Level 2 and defining those standards. So the way it kind of works is that you go and take a curriculum and take a course, a Level 2 course by an organizer, and by organizer I mean car club,
Chapter.
chapter, for-profit entity such as your Chin Track Days, your Hooked on Driving, those types of guys. And so you go take that, and then the instructor, they will teach the curriculum that has been approved. And then what happens is that if you're approved as a Level 2 instructor, they send us your information. And then we reach out to you as MSF and give you the link on Motorsport Reg, allow you to go in and register. Yes, you pay some money. It's $35. And that then gets you into Level 2. It adds you to the database and establishes everything that's there. And so Level 2 has been defined, Eric, as a 3-year period because what we're trying to introduce, and I want you to jump on this topic because I'm not the subject matter expert, you are. But it's the idea behind it is you define a Level 2, it's good for 3 years, and then there's a recertification, which is really a strange word for continuing education.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why do we do that?
Well, I talked with Ross before, and when Ross first had this sort of the industry best practice ideas in the back of his head, he said, Eric, and you and I both know, but for those of you who don't know, Ross likes to fly and is getting certified to fly helicopters. And as such, he was talking about the various levels of certification and recertification, or continuing education, and what those requirements are. And he said, they're in every other industry and they're in flying. Why don't we have them in instructing? And so this was added. What, Scott, like the idea of a recertification or continuing in, that was like 4 years ago-ish? We
talked about the recertification from the very beginning. When we got to the point of certifying instructors, we actually said, okay, there needs to be continuing education. There needs to be a process that keeps everybody for lack of a better term, up to date, up to speed, allows, and allows everybody to tune themselves up as they do it.
But it's not a go through the program again, like some.
No, not even close. Yes. No, not even close. It's again, like I said, it's a tune up. It's not, it's not a full valve job. It's tune up. It's not, it's not the rebuild. And so, and that's something we talked about from the very beginning. We launched, I think we've launched level 2 almost exactly 3 years ago, because we actually, part of the reason that we're doing this is because of COVID, and we're starting to get some people that it's time for them to recertify. So we defined
exactly the 3-year anniversary. Next week will be the 3-year anniversary. Yeah. The very first organization got level 2 instructors, submitted that information from typically the chief instructor to MSF, and said, these guys right here passed our program, the ones that you folks looked at and have met the guidelines, met the standards, and we put them into the system, into MSR.
Yep, that's right. And so, we defined the recertification with the help of our advisory council, which is made up of level 2 certified organizations, and we created the guidelines and defined those, and I think we published them probably 7 or 8 months ago, to be honest. We came up with the program, and knowing that everybody was going to start getting ready here this coming week. And then, as we all know, the world changed, COVID hit, events were canceled, a lot of things happened. And so based on that, and a big part of what we're talking about tonight is that we decided to revise the guidelines and change them in a way that helps people that weren't able to participate in events last year.
Yeah, let's come full circle on that if we could. Yep. So for those of you that don't know, the MSF has a council, Motorsport Safety Foundation has a council, and that consists of Hooked on Driving, Chin Track Days, PCA, BMW CCA, Audi, Ferrari Club of America out of Empire Region. We've got some vendors on there, including Locked Infinity and Motorsports Reg. So that's a council, a group of kind of like a steering committee, right, Scott? Ish, something like that.
Yep.
And they came about about 4 years ago ish.
Yeah, it started almost from the very beginning of the certified program. Yeah.
And those folks had input into the MIN standards. And those MIN standards are what we have to compare a provided instructor curriculum that's provided. It's not ours. It's not an MSF curriculum. It's provided by PCA or BMW or Hooked on Driving or SCDA or Just Track It or Bill Scott Racing or. We take a look and say, yep, those meet the standards. That's what you do. You're really good at that, right? And checking all the boxes. And when those folks take their level 2, when you, the person that's watching is an instructor, takes that with PCA or BMW CCA or Hooked on Driving or Chin or whomever, when you pass, the chief instructor will forward a list to Scott and will enter that into the system. So it's their curriculum and not ours, which is probably the number one thing I hear, Scott, it's yours. What about your pro? Well, it's not ours, guys.
Yeah.
It's not ours.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? The standards exist for there to be kind of a baseline where everybody meets a set of standards. And there are a number of people that exceed those standards in so many different ways. That's what makes things great. I mean, it's all we do is define, we talked about it before, and my favorite analogy is as weird as it sounds, it's the FAA. So the FAA defines a list of things that need to be talked about in the pre-flight. Either it's a video now, but it used to be the flight attendants talking about it when they talk about how the seatbelts work and how the oxygen drops down and all of that. So the FAA defines what that speech and what that video contains. And then the airlines either spice it up if you're on Southwest, or they make it super boring and put you to sleep like United or whatever, So, and so that's exactly what we've done.
Send all the United Airlines critiques to Scott at United Airlines.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I just flew them literally last week, and I sat on the ground for 3 hours because a sync didn't work for a 39-minute flight. So I'm a little bummed out about that,
so
United at the moment.
Remind people what you do for a living, and we talked earlier. This is a loaded question. You have continuing ed in that capacity, correct?
Yeah, I mean everything that I do. So my main job is at the moment I work as a race director. So I work for the FIA, and then I also work for a couple of other race series as well as their race director. That's kind of I'll put it this way. That's my primary form of income. Let's put it that way. And so the FIA requires me as a race director every year to attend what's called a race director seminar. And because I'm one of the lucky people, there's 5 people in the world that have a job that I have, which is a race director for what the FIA calls a world championship event. So I'm the race director for Formula E. My dear friend Michael Massey is the race director for Formula One. I've got a friend who's in sports car racing, so the World Endurance Championship. Eduardo, he's a race director for that World Championship. And then there's World Rallycross, and then there's the World Rally Championship itself. So those are the 5 World Championships. And so as part of that, we're required to attend, we're required to present, and then every single year, we're required to take a test to prove our ability to still be a World Championship race director. So there is a level of competition of continuing education that exists even at that level, because that's as weird as it is to sound, like that's probably the highest level you can get to as a race director is to be a part of a world championship, at least in the eyes of the FIA. So,
Scott, should we go right? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was it, dude. I was finished. It's all good.
Should we go to the actual document and show folks what this is? Some folks are thinking that hey, wow, I got to go back through this whole program again. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah,
it's I like to think of it as somebody's Uncle Larry, who's getting up there in age. He gets more frequent driver license exam reviews and tests than his grandkids do. Did we just lose you? Am I here all by myself? Hi, everybody. I think we just lost Scott. Join the room.
That was fun. Sorry. So I was moving to share the screen. And,
it's going full orphan on me, bro.
Yeah, sorry. That I have to start it over again. I hit the kill button.
Not a problem.
Not a
problem. So we're gonna show the document. That's the actual document for recertification. We'll put this on the website. It's there already. Motorsport Safety Foundation website. Here it is. Here exactly. You want to walk those folks through this? Yeah,
and the way and it looks a little bit weird, but the way you see this document is the way it's on our website, because it actually goes directly to our Dropbox and our Google Sheets. And you can see, and if you guys aren't familiar with Google Sheets, it has a little section over here where you can actually go in and put comments on it, so we can actually see what everybody thinks about it. So it's effectively the same document we released a while back, except the stuff in red obviously are the changes. And so again, because of the pandemic and the fact that a lot of people didn't have to get to do events and to pay attention to being current, being what's going on, we've basically taken the level 2 certification that was a 3-year certification, which meant that you had to apply your continuing education after 3 years, and we've now extended that to 4 years. So we've gone 1 year automatically. And
is
so
that 4 years for everybody, Scott? If you just got certified 2 years ago, do you get 2 more years on top of that?
Exactly, because I think everybody had the same issues with that year. I mean, it's possible that they could have been certified beforehand. So it only makes sense to do that from everybody. So let's
really spell that out for folks, especially there's a lot of proactive folks that reach out to me and they're saying, hey, am I going to lose my ability to instruct? The answer is no. The answer is no. The answer is
absolutely not. So what we've done is we've worked with our partners at Motorsport Reg. And so, and it's not happened. It has not happened yet, but it will happen here within the next week or so. Is that everybody's expiration date or valid date on Motorsport Reg will automatically roll over to add a year to whatever it is you have. So, if you signed up in May of 2000, let's just call it 2020, and you were going to expire in 2023, you're now going to expire in May of 2024. So we've added that to everyone, and that doesn't matter if you 3 years ago you did it, or if you did it a year ago you did it, because I think, and again, the balance kind of plays out, because I think everybody lost the opportunity to do a number of events and do a number of things in 2020. So I think that makes sense to apply to everyone. So
the spirit's to stay fresh.
Exactly.
The spirit's to stay fresh, to be in the sport, and just not show up once a year.
Yeah.
Right. We're trying to prevent that. We're about safety.
The whole purpose behind the certified program is to promote consistency. And as someone, and part of it, and I guess you can agree or disagree, but safety is a big part of my life in my real job, and then in a lot of other things. I also work as a circuit inspector, a track inspector for the FIA. I'm only one of 2 platinum level guys in the United States that can look at circuits, so that's all safety. And then also work with the safety commission guys and things like that. So a big part of safety is that, excuse me, is consistency helps build safety. And that's the whole genesis behind the certified program, is that consistency is there. So in order to keep that consistency going, once this 4-year period ends, there's a recertification process, and that's what this program is. And again, you guys will be able to, you can download this off the Motorsport Safety website now, and I'll provide a link at a point in time so that everybody sees what it is. But the point is, this document exists as it exists now. So, and thank you for your questions. I appreciate you guys pulling those up. We'll answer those here at the end. So the real simple, short version of it, and again, it's not really a long document, but to recertify for level 2, and again, this is all operated within the organization. We ask that you complete what we're calling a check ride. And that is an instructing check, not a driving check. So it's probably if you guys have gone through level 2 before, what it is it's a rehash of the mentor in-car ride along to do a double check on the instructor to make sure. There's also the opportunity. Sorry, I'm gonna give me one. What it also does is there's also the ability to do a driving check if the organization wants to, but it's not a requirement of level 2. The assumption is that everybody knows how to drive. And then we have confirmation that you've instructed at least 6 days from the effective date of your initial certification. So that means, as crazy as it sounds, you only have to instruct 6 days within 4 years. But that is at least some kind of a minimum standard that allows us in the organization to ensure that you're still staying current and that you're still operating. And then level 2 instructors, the organizations that are level 2 also have the ability to approve instructors on a rare exception basis if they've instructed 4 days over the past 4 years. So again, all of this points back to the organization. It isn't MSF saying that you're a level 2 instructor. It's not us saying that you're okay as an instructor. It's the organization that you're either driving with, that you've either trained with, you've taken their course. It's all about them. So it's about the organization and how they make that decision. And then one of the final things, and I think is pretty critical, is that instructors may be recertified by any level 2 certified organization. That means you don't necessarily have to recertify with the group that you were originally certified in level 2 with.
Yeah, maybe you moved across the nation, right?
Exactly.
And you're still instructing in different. Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So that's something that, and that's the whole idea of the consistency and the basis behind what we do with the standards. It allows those standards to be consistent from organization to organization. So, and then we detail the recertification process. And so it's exactly the same as we do with level 2, which I kind of briefly touched on before, but the organizers will send a list of the instructors that have been recertified to us at MSF. We'll then send you a list. We'll send you an email with a link to the registration on Motorsport Reg, where you guys can go in and pay your fee, which is $25, and then the recertification, and then your certification is valid again for another 3 years from that period. So, that's the document, Eric. It's not super complicated. It's not really a difficult process. It is, hopefully it's really, really clear that you're not starting over. It's called recertified for a reason. And so we can, it's just a again, it's a continuing education. It gives the organizer a chance to double check to make sure everybody is teaching the curriculum according to how they want to, and to their standards. So
full disclosure, I'm a chief instructor, and I get a lot of instructors asking me, hey, how does this work? And I need to share with you guys, it sounds something like this. You're going to come in, you're going to set aside about 20 minutes, and about 15 of those minutes will be in a car, give or take, including leaving onto the track and coming off the track. So you probably do a few laps in this checkout type ride that's defined by the organization that you're getting recertified by. And you'll bring your some information that will show, will give proof to how many times you've instructed in the last several years. And that could be in very many shapes and forms. If it's printed certification off of Motorsports Reg or Track Rabbit or just about anything, you wrote canceled checks to somebody, bring that. This isn't designed and meant to be challenging and restrictive. It's meant to be easy. It's meant to reward people to say, hey, thanks, we appreciate you. You're re-upped. You're good for another 3 years. And ideally, it's something that you schedule ahead with your chief driving instructor, your chief instructor, so they can weave you in and everybody doesn't show up at 40 at once. So a lot of organizations right now are doing a couple of these at every event. So get with your chief instructor, tell them, hey, put me on the list. A lot of them will want to do it early, and there's no reason why you can't do it early. Ferrari Club of America Empire is doing it like now. They have it scheduled out. They got their ducks in a row. Hooked on Driving is planning that right now. They literally have instructors earmarked for certain events. So get with your local CDI. He'll get you on that list, and you can get those requirements done, and they can send information to Scott, and we'll update your level 2.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a couple of questions in, and I think it's important to look through it. One was, can you change organization when you recertify? The answer to that is absolutely yes. That's from Clint.
Hey, Clint, how are you, brother? I know Clint was on the other day.
Yeah, and if again, and I'll use some examples. If you've certified level 2 with Chin, and you've moved cross country, and now you're an HOD guy, you can recertify with HOD instead of Chin. That is something that we've defined across all of the organizations, and everybody has that ability to do that based on the difficulty things. There isn't, it's like you said, Eric. It's unfortunately it's up to the instructors to keep track of their instructing days. If you instruct with multiple organizations, that's kind of on you. If you happen to instruct with organizations that are in MSR, Motorsport Reg, those things typically show up on your profile, so you should be able to keep track of those. If you do something outside of MSR, then that's kind of on you. And like you said, your canceled check or whatever the proof is, how you have to do that, and that's up to the organizer. It's up to the organizer how you define those days that you've instructed.
Bring some information. Best advice I can give and offer anybody, and please contact either Scott or I. We'll put our emails down below if you have any challenges, is to get a hold of your local Msf Level 2 certified entity and say, hey, I'd like to be part of this. I'd like to get into it. Because if you show up on the day of and say, hey, can you fit me in? Ain't going to happen. Yeah. You got to plan ahead. If you're looking for more organizations to get recertified, drop us an email below or contact us on the website or on our Motorsport Safety Foundation Facebook group. Drop a note and I'll bird dog that for you and find you an organization that has that you can jump into.
Yeah, there's also a list. I mean, there's a list of level 2s on our site as well. Everybody that's achieved level 2, everybody's on there. With the exception of Bill Scott Racing, I don't think we've added them. Can't remember if I've added them to the site or not. They're the latest in West Virginia, and so we'll double check on that. Our man Levi Barnes is peppering us with questions.
Oh, that sounds typical Levi.
Yeah, I know, and they're hard ones too. He says,
greetings from Calabogie. Hey, Greg.
Oh, hey, Greg. Levi's question is, what incentives do instructors have to recertify? How do we entice them to do that? And I would throw that over to you, Eric, as an instructor.
Wow. How do we incentivize them? Well, geez, if someone doesn't want to get better at their craft, I would, as a chief instructor, I would question, do I want to have you on staff? Do I want to, why are you here? If learning is important for your student, why isn't learning important for you?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often, but I guess if it does, it might just be that personality type. I don't see a lot of that. That's kind of rare, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the whole idea, right? Like if you have basically what recertifying is doing is ensuring that you're out there and being active. And also making sure that since you have been active, that you're available to the organizer. So I guess, Levi, in a lot of ways, it's really a benefit to the organizer as much as it is to the instructor. It's kind of a twofold deal where, I think everybody wants instructors that are current and have been participating. And so that always helps. And again, it's consistency, right? It builds that consistency. It helps increase the safety when everybody's consistent. And then also it helps the instructor, that allows them to be more available, as well. So it's, I think that, as always, good questions from Levi.
That spirit of that, Scott, is so that someone doesn't instruct in 3 years and shows up and believes that they're good to go. That's rusty. Can you imagine a surgeon doing that, or your pilot doing that?
Well, as we've kind of talked about, it seems, we call it continuing education, and we call it a number of different things. But one of the most glaring things that pops into my head is that every time I renew my driver's license, I have to, at least in California where I live, I have to take a written test. I have to ensure that I am valid to do what I need to do. And California is probably not the greatest example on many fronts of how things work. But that's one of the easiest things that I can point to, in addition to the fact of what I do for a race director. And then, we've talked about it a couple of different times. I know you scuba dive, and you have to recertify. You have to go in and double check and recertify your scuba diving
every 2 years for the first aid and AED. Yep. And
yep. And I have to, as first aid's a great example. I'm CPR certified. I have to do the same thing. I have to go in and renew that. And then even from a standpoint of many people don't know it. Some people do, but I run a little guitar repair shop here. And so I represent a few different brands of guitar manufacturers, and I work as a warranty repair center. One of them's, Taylor Guitars. Those guys make me go through an educational process to ensure that I know the latest techniques, that I'm up to speed on everything that's being done with their model line. So I think it's a pretty common process of what we're proposing here, is keeping everybody current and consistent. So
I see some, 100%. I see some questions on here about, what if I can't find an organization? Guys, get a hold of us. That's why we're here. Get a hold of me. I'll put my email down below. I'll be happy to connect you to some wonderful chief instructors who are looking for folks. And there are more organizations out there getting level 2 certification. Scott, you're working on a couple right now, new organizations that will be approved and will be added to the list of 33 organizations, I believe it is. 35,
I think 33 is the number. I'm not sure. We've got 33, and then there's 20. You know these numbers better than I do, actually. 25 or 2,600 guys that have taken the level 1.
How about 25, 30 as of this morning? Okay.
As of this morning, and then I've got a whole bunch I have to process too as well, and then well over 500 level 2 guys. So
hey, we get a couple questions. What is the most frequent question you get from folks reaching out to you, Scott, that you'd want to address?
A lot of folks, again, we've talked about it a couple of times, but a lot of folks still, I think, there's a perception that MSF does the certification of level 2. I think there's still a little bit of perception there that we actually do that, which is, again, we certify the organization, and then the organization does the actual validating and certifying and approval of the instructor. So I'd say that's one of the things that comes up the most. That in addition, and then also, sorry.
How long does that process typically take, the review of the curriculum? And are there much back and forths or?
In most cases, it goes very, very quickly because most organizations have already defined a curriculum that exceeds the standards that we've defined. In most cases, there are a few where we have to do some work. I mean, the one thing that really kind of, if there's anything that trips people up, it's the in-car mentoring requirement, because it is fairly extensive in terms of the different types of drivers. And you know this better than I do, but we go in and have an aggressive novice or a timid person in a high horsepower car and things like that. And so the way that process works is, if you and I were doing this together, I would go in and I would be the driver, but I would act out these different categories and these different personalities for you as the instructor. And then I would guide and try to, understand how you dealt with me as that particular client. And then of course we, kind of do the reversal and kind of check each other out. And so we require 120 minutes of that type of activity. And so usually that's the one thing that most people have to tie in, because, we've gone through the studies, and I wish our chief psychologist on staff was here, Ross, that would be able to talk us through that. But that has been proven time and time again as an effective education method, and a learning process. And so that's the one thing that probably happens the most in terms of where that is that, we read through it and it's like, oh, sorry guys, you need to add some of this. So that's usually where that pops up.
As we move right along and get close to our closing remarks and comments, you and I said we were trying to make this about 30, 35 minutes. I think it's important to know that as we speak right now, organizations, as COVID seems to be slowly relaxing itself and people look ahead, there seems to be more and more, not only level 2s and level 2s with recertifications, but recertifications without a full-blown level 2. So more folks have those on standby, more level 2 organizations have those ready for you so you can come in and get involved. In some cases, the organizations have a small fee for that. In other cases, there's zero fee. Again, we're talking about one ride on track for 5, 6, 7 laps type of thing. Yep. And you providing a sort of proof of instruction, either with that organization or with various organizations over the last 3 years. Should be easy to do if you're fresh on your game. Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. I'll throw a couple of things out here. Just looking through the comments. It looks like it says, I think it's from Larry Boyer. I don't know if you know Larry.
Oh yeah.
He said the more important question is, why are there so few groups across North America that are actually level 2? How do we get more groups that want to be a part of the level 2 process? I'll answer that from a very, very strange point. And Eric, this is the thing too. We've never aggressively gone after level 2s. We've always had the organizations come to us and ask us about the process. We've never gone out on a sales pitch and never gone out and tried to find people to do level 2. We always wanted people to be organic about the fact that they want to improve and create consistency and meet those standards. And that's why the number of groups that we have is the number that we have. We've never, ever, ever gone after people. That's just never really been the philosophy that we've had as a board of directors about this program. We want people to be all in. And when people come to us about it, typically they're all in. And so that's just kind of answering that question. That maybe that's why there aren't so many, because we're not aggressive about that. We like to have people come to us.
Larry, that was a great question. I can share that with you right now that I'm working with 4 organizations right now that are putting together some information that we'll send to Scott, and there'll be 4 more on for the year. We usually get about 6 a year, 6, 7 a year. Depends on COVID.
It's hard to say. We haven't really had a regular year for a while, so it's been hard. And then I'll just kind of run through some of these. Somebody asked about another sticker to add to the ID card. Actually, there isn't another sticker. If you're level 2, you're already level 2 on your hard card. What it does is it changes within MSR. And I've seen a number of questions asked about how they can see their expiration date, as it were, within MSR. That's one I'm going to have to get back to everybody on, and we'll post an answer to that on our on our Facebook page, or maybe even in the HPD instructors Facebook group that a lot of people are a member of, to try to get that squared away. Because when I look at MSR, I always look at it from the organizer standpoint. I don't look at it from the individual standpoint. So we'll talk through that and work with those guys and understand where that is. I think that's something that should be available. Should be very much available.
Yeah, we have we're working with MSR right now to sort of tweak the level 2 landing page to put some more fields of information in there. We're finding that that's needed, and I see a few folks on here that have shared that as well. And Jimmy Mack from Chin says, "Hey, reach out to Jim Pomeroy of Chin Track Days if you're looking to get recertified. Great organization, puts on a great level 2 every year at Sebring."
Yeah, you were there.
Ross was there too. Always great.
Yeah, Ross was there too. Another question that's popped up. It says, does the plus 3 years added on with recertification get tacked on your current expiration date or added to the day you recertify? So basically, when you recertify, that's the beginning of your 3-year clock again. So at the moment, and we'll just kind of walk through it real fast. You became certified as level 2. We've tacked on a year, so now you're good for 4 years. When that comes time to recertify after that 4 years, then you recertify and you're good for another 3. Yep. Gabriel asks, is there a general directory for these organizations? Yes, absolutely. Motorsport-safety.org under the HPDE tab. All of the level 2 groups are listed there.
Guys, we're going through some little bit of growing pains. This is our first round of recert, and certainly with COVID. So if you have input, questions, ideas, suggestions, please get a hold of us. We don't claim we're a nonprofit and making the big bucks here, right? Making the huge dollars, gigantic money grab, as some people have said, which it is not.
We're a 3-person organization.
3-person volunteer organization right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the fun stuff we got, you want to talk a little bit about the industry survey that go for it. No, you should. Okay.
I think that makes sense for you to talk about it more than me.
Fantastic. Guys, we got some neat things planned for you in the near future. We've got 2 industry surveys coming out. We're going to amass some information, very much like what's the average age and the demographic of instructors, where are their primary affiliation, how many times do they instruct, where are they located, what's their brand, how many times do they instruct, do they have lead follow experience, something like that. There's 2 of those coming out in the next 60 days. We've got some more webinars, and our next webinar is geared specifically on driver safety or instructor safety, if you will. That will be on April 19th at 8:30 p.m. We'll put a tickler out for that. And as always, those things are free. All of those are free. And this is something I'm really excited about. I'm getting a lot of phone calls, and when I'm out on the road at these level 2s, been to 3 of them so far this year. So their level 2s are happening right now in COVID. There's 10 on the books right now, and possibly upwards to 18, depending on how COVID relaxes its bite on us or not. But where I'm going with that is a lot of folks want to get together and get a best practices group together. Call that like a chief instructor or a CDI best practice group. If you'd like to be involved in that, get a hold of me. I'll drop my email below, and I'll be happy to. You don't have to be an organization; just be a person, and we'll get you on that list. Scott, anything else you can think of, my friend?
No, I just want to hit a couple more of these questions because they're coming in at a rapid pace. Carl asked, and Carl, you may have joined a little bit later, but you said, hey, you've just started instructing with an organization. Level 1's an online exam. How do you get to level 2 certified for the first time? Again, that is based on the organizer. And so if you go to motorsport-safety.org, our website, hit the HPDE page, there's a list of all those level 2 organizers there. So it's possible that the group you're driving with isn't on that list, but at least the list provides a note and tells you everybody that is there. Daniel Cooper, good for you. You asked this question early on and you're asking it again. It says, tell us about Msf Level 3. At the moment, we'll be honest, there is no Level 3. We're focusing on getting through this recert and making sure that level 1 and level 2 are meeting the standards that we believe as a board of directors that we're we're hitting internally. So level 3 could come. I can't tell you what it's going to be, but I think we need to make sure that we're happy and that our ducks are in a row on level 1 and level 2, and then we'll move on to something else. We've got a ton of ideas as to what that could be, whether it's classroom instruction, data, who knows. And we've got a lot of information from a lot of people that are participating in the program. So we'll take that. Levi said that was a great answer. His wife's going to make cookies for all recertifying instructors. So I think that's super, super cool. I do love cookies. That's important. I think that's very, very good. Again, Cliff asked a really good question. He said the club who I originally certified with is not all that active. He said, should I be reaching out to an organization like HOD to ensure that I'm recertified? Yeah, the beautiful part about the recertification process is you don't have to recertify with the group you originally were level 2 with. You can go to another group and go through their recert. So yeah, be aware of that.
Can't emphasize enough the common courtesy of reaching out well ahead. Reaching out 2 weeks prior to and signing up 2 weeks before an event and expecting to get your recert. The good thing is you got a whole year and more.
Yeah, and the thing about it is too, I think it's important, Eric, and you know about this way better than I do, but the organizations that make the effort and put on the level 2 instructor certification programs, that's not a small effort. It's, some guys do it over a period of 2 or 3 days because of the way it works and because of the role playing and everything that's required for these to meet these standards. So when these guys put these on, like you said, it's a heck of a lot easier if you reach out earlier so they can plan and understand how the process needs to work. It's not a small task to put on a level 2 curriculum course. It's not something that's very, very they make a strong commitment, and the organizations that are committed to level 2 in the certified program are our backbone. They really help us keep going and really help us in a strong way. So
I suspect that the second half of this season and all of 2022 are when everyone figures out, every organization kind of gets in the rhythm of the recertification process. That this will be really slick and easy. Just got to remember to bring your group of 6 or more instructing days. That's probably the hardest part, and that burden is upon you, the instructor, to bring that to the table. Yeah,
I'm going to throw this out here because I think it's an interesting question as a part of the whole process, and just being transparent. Fred sent a private question, basically saying, "Hey, he's like, I don't think any entities obligate us to be MSF2. Like your guitar company. The guitar company I work with requires me to do that." I think there are a few entities out there that really, really do obligate their instructors to be level 2. Isn't that right, Eric?
That's correct.
You're on the ground more than I am. So
there's some of both. More and more are transitioning to their entire team. They're cycling through their team to get level 2 certified. Right. Many organizations have more instructors than level 2 instructors. It's only a part of the pie, let's say 50%, and they're slowly increasing those as they also bring in new instructors to replace those outgoing folks that bought a boat or a timeshare or decided to build a swimming pool and sell the car
or decided to pick up playing guitar. Who knows?
Hey, that's all I've got, my friend. We're 45 minutes. That was our hard stop. I'm loving it.
Yeah. I just want to roll through.
Reader, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm rolling through the questions. I just really want to make sure. So there's on our website, which is motorsport-safety.org. If you guys have any questions you want to run subs through, Eric's posted his email address on there. There's also a contact at motorsport-safety.org that you can reach out to us. That comes directly to me. Eric's got an email address as well, eric@motorsport-safety.org. I have Scott with 1 T because my parents were cheap and they couldn't afford the second T. Sorry, I've been hanging out with my son all week. I'm full of dad jokes. Yep, I think that's it. I think that's all the good questions that we've got there.
Questions, send them over. We'll do our very best. And next time I'm out at the track, if you see me, come say hello, and maybe I got some swag. And but don't bother Scott for that, because everything he gets, he sends it to me, and I take it on the road give it out to people firsthand.
I'll pop this up here on the sticky
Hey,
message
Cassidy,
real
thanks for
quick
joining us. Hey, Dan Cooper.
before we
Hey,
hop
Dave
off.
Ball. Good stuff.
I posted on the sticky, which is the very top of the chat section that everybody should be able to see. That's our website. Lots and lots of information there. Lots of stuff there that you guys can see and get some info on. So thank you very much. I think we're finished up, E. That was our 45 minutes, and anybody's got any more questions. Hopefully we didn't create more questions than answers. Hopefully we were able to answer out a bunch of stuff, but just remember, go to our website. Every webinar that we have is posted on our homepage. So it's the first page you see. We'll do a replay of this webinar as well and post it to the website so that it's there in case some of your friends weren't able to join us. But we always put that on the very front page of the website. So our next webinar, again, coming up April 19th. It's going to be safety related. We'll be honest, don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but we know what the topic is in general.
We're working on a few vendors to give us some swag so that one lucky webinar viewer can win some neat stuff. Not swag stuff, like high value stuff, high valued safety gear.
Excellent. So, all right, great. Very good.
Scott,
thanks everybody. Thanks, Eric. Always good to see you, man. Take it easy. Thanks everyone for joining.
Appreciate you guys. Send us some emails if you got any questions. Happy to help.
Yep. Thanks a lot.